Hello and welcome back to another Kevin 24/7 video. Thank you for tuning in. For those of you who follow me, you know I own a military Humvee, and for those of you who don't, this is me telling you that I own a prior military Humvee. Now, while daily driving a military Humvee is not exactly for everybody, there are some key factors that make Humvees some of the best off-road vehicles in the world, and also just make them good, solid vehicles in general. Before you scoff at that, hear me out. These are the top 7 things I love about my prior military Humvee. So I'm sure for almost all of you who have been on YouTube or maybe Instagram or maybe even gone to a Cena show has seen a trend towards quote-unquote zombie-proof vehicles, especially around the area of time where Walking Dead was becoming extremely popular. It seems like everything was zombie this, zombie that. You had zombie guns, you had zombie vehicles, you had zombie swords, all kinds of stuff like that. So you may be wondering why I'm even bringing this up. Well, an interesting aspect about the military Humvee is it's actually a multi-fuel vehicle. Now, why is that important for a zombie apocalypse? Well, you can't always guarantee that ready, fresh supplies of gas or diesel or whatever type of fuel you run on are going to be around. There might be other survivors hoarding it. It might be getting used up. It might have spoiled. Who knows the case? With the Humvee, you can actually run all kinds of stuff in it. You can even run jet fuel in a Humvee. You can run old motor oil. I think, and you may want to fact check me on this, you can even run gas in the diesel engine if you absolutely have to. In my mind, that is a key need to building a zombie-approved vehicle. Anyone like me who spends hours and hours scouring Facebook Marketplace for old trucks, old Jeeps, old whatever it might be, I think knows about the number one thing to look out for on an off-road vehicle. And you may have already guessed it, that is rust. On anything that gets driven through creeks and streams or through mud or driven in the winter, especially when there's salt on the roads and stuff like that, anything like that, is going to have a huge risk of rusting out. While rust isn't always a death sentence, it's very annoying to deal with at best and can completely render your vehicle useless at worst. Now, Humvees aren't impervious to rust. All the driveline components are still made out of normal steel, which can rust if the protective coatings wear off or whatnot. But the bodies are completely made out of aluminum. I'm a Chevy truck guy, so I'm very familiar with the rust patterns of Silverados. And while the drivetrains and stuff can eventually rust out on very old vehicles, or perhaps even the chassis, what you usually see before anything else is surface rust on the quarter panels, the rockers, the wheel wells, stuff like that. On a military Humvee, no matter how much it sits outside, you will never have to worry about body rust. Perhaps the second most annoying thing about buying used off-road vehicles and trail rigs is the crummy interiors that you'll often see. Now, this often isn't the fault of the previous owner. After all, it's very hard to keep carpet clean when you're constantly tracking mud all over it over and over again, or perhaps fording through streams and water's coming in through the doors, or whatever the situation may be. The good thing about the Humvee is the inside can literally be hosed out. Now, I know other vehicle manufacturers like Jeep and I believe Ford with their new Bronco sort of advertise putting a hose to the inside of your vehicle, but think if you would actually ever do that on a brand new $40,000 to $50,000 truck or vehicle or whatever you want to call it. I would definitely be hesitant. The Humvee, on the other hand, there's really nothing to it. Some of them have inner carpet, like mine, it's just bed liner. Some are just sheet metal, whatever it might be. You have no risk of really getting anything moldy or nasty. Just put the hose to it, hose out the mud, it'll drain through the drain holes in the floor pans, and you're good to go. It definitely makes cleaning easy, and it makes it so you don't have to live with a dank, soggy, smelly interior. Many of you may not know this, but Humvees actually feature the most reliable diff lockers known to man. Now, you may be confused what I mean by this. Well, have you ever been off-roading either you yourself or your friend have diff locker trouble, meaning the diffs won't lock, they're clicking, they're skipping teeth, you know, whatever it is, the air lockers aren't working, your compressor to do the air locker isn't working, etc., etc. I've seen it several times. You see it all the time in YouTube videos. It's a very common thing. And while diff lockers are an amazing asset on almost any difficult trail, they're of absolutely no use if you can't use them. Well, Humvees actually have a very unique way of locking their diffs. Their brake rotors are positioned right next to the differential. So if you are to slightly torque the brakes where you're going up obstacles that would normally cause the differential to send all the power to the wheel with the least traction, it'll actually effectively lock all four wheels like you have front and rear lockers. Now this may sound like a gimmick, or it may sound a little bit ridiculous, but as somebody who's off-roaded a Humvee a lot, I can tell you right now that it works extremely well, and it works just as good as a normal locker. The only downside is it zaps a little bit of power out, but for a vehicle that has 4 low and extremely low gearing to begin with, this really isn't that noticeable. Following up by my comment saying Humvees had the most reliable diff lockers known to man, they also have the most reliable differential, axle, and portal axle seals known to man. Let me explain. So certain Humvees are equipped with what's called a deep water fording system. This is an option you can purchase off eBay for any Humvee. Admittedly, it's something I don't currently have on mine, but I will be purchasing it and installing it at some point down the road. Basically how this works is it actually uses crankcase pressure from the engine to pressurize certain components of a Humvee that would be prone to taking on water if there was any damage to the existing seals. It does this by simply running long tubes to all these components. You flip the switch, it pressurizes it all, water can't come in where air is already coming out. Voila, you have completely sealed drivetrain components. Humvees also have double the bead locking capabilities with their tires than almost any other off-road rig that is featuring bead lock wheels. The reason this is they are one of the few vehicles that has double bead lock wheels. Now these wheels are so effective and they work so well that many people from the off-road community will actually pay companies to recenter them so these wheels can be bolted on the hubs of their Jeep or their Ford Bronco or whatever it is that they're off-roading. The way these work is they actually use an insert, and it's a 2-piece wheel. So the insert goes between both pieces and the tire, effectively smashing the tire onto the inside of both pieces of the wheel. This allows you to run basically 0 PSI, and the tire has no risk of actually coming off the wheel. But don't actually run 0 PSI because that would be stupid. Along with this, if you remember my comment about the quote-unquote diff locks that come on Humvees, since there's no brake rotor to house inside the wheel, they can run extremely small 2-piece wheels. They're actually only 16.5 inches, and stock Humvees have a 37-inch tire. That is a ridiculous amount of sidewall, and it allows you to flex and crawl your way over tough, steep hills and slick rocks. Last but not least, all Humvees have what are called portal axles. Now this is a very simple design. The way it works is the individual drive shafts, instead of going straight to the hub that would spin the wheel, they go to a portal, or in other words a gear, which drops down and goes to another large gear, which then goes to the geared hub, which will drive a wheel. Now, the reason that they're built this way is it allows them to have an extra, I'll say 2 to 3, maybe 4 inches of ground clearance without needing to drop drive shafts down that would typically get in the way and get caught up on rocks or whatever it may be, or you would have to have the A-arm below the drive shaft, which would also get caught up on things. This is a nice advantage. It adds a lot of durability and also ground clearance, and is something that typically is only seen on tractors or monster trucks or things like that. Alright folks, that is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, I hope you can give me a quick like and a subscribe. As always, thank you so much for the support. We are getting very close to 7,000 subscribers, which is amazing. If you like, please feel free to check out the rest of my channel. I feature videos of me building up my Humvee from the very beginning to what you see now, as well as videos of me off-roading and overlanding it, and all kinds of other crazy stuff. There's some really good stuff on there that I personally hope you will enjoy very much. Thank you for watching. I will make sure to see you in the next one.